Hi, I'm Grace from Gardening for Joy, and today we're going to talk about thinning seedlings. Probably a process that nobody really enjoys, not because it's difficult, but because it's so hard to discard seedlings that we've spent some investment in growing, right? But why do you have to thin seedlings? Well, you want to thin seedlings to give them the best possible chance to survive and be healthy. And so we don't want them competing for nutrients, for moisture, or for light. Now, my approach is a little bit different, but it certainly follows all the conventional norms. My approach is called survival of the fittest when I thin my seedlings. And so I have a bunch of seedlings here in front of me that I've been growing for about 5 weeks. And we're going to just take a deep dive and look at how I'm going to go ahead and thin them. So let me just switch. We're going to zero in to really look at the seedlings, and we're going to go ahead and thin some seedlings. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at the process of thinning. So what do you need to thin? Well, all I believe you need are a pair of scissors, good pair of scissors, and of course you need your seedlings. And in front of me, I've got some Cosmos seedlings. I've got, and I got two varieties of zinnias. So this is a profusion zinnia, and this is a tall zinnia. And I've been growing these for about 5 weeks, and you can almost see right away when you look at them, there's some anomalies in the different seedlings. And so we're gonna go ahead and thin out those anomalies. All right, so first let's look at the Cosmos. And in my Cosmos, I generally definitely have more than one seedling per tray, but gosh, they look pretty darn healthy. Now, a couple things you want to look for when you thin seedlings. First of all, they have to have what we call 2 sets of true leaves. And these fluffy leaves up here that look like an actual Cosmos are what are the true leaves. Whereas these leaves down here, if you look at the very bottom, these leaves, they don't even resemble what a Cosmos looks like. Those are what are called the seed leaves. So you want to make sure your seedlings have 2 sets of true leaves before you go ahead and trim, and mine certainly do. So I'll show you what we're going to do with those. With my profusion zinnias, couple of problems I have. I have 2 of the profusion zinnias, which are generally low-growing zinnias that have become leggy. And then I have a couple of cells that have quite a few seedlings in them that I'm going to go ahead and thin out. And then these are my tall zinnias. And in my tall zinnias, what I've noticed is certain cells have 3 seedlings growing. And so those I'm going to thin it out to 2. All right, so first let's look at the Cosmos. And here, all I'm going to do, I have these 2 that I'm going to trim. I'm going to take my scissors, and right at the soil level, I'm just going to snip them off. So that's one. And then I have the other one here. That's the second one. Now, the rest of these seedlings, yes, they are getting crowded, right? But what I'm going to do, instead of trimming them out, I'm going to go ahead and pot them up into a bigger pot. So I'll give each of them their own individual pot, probably for just about another 2 or 3 weeks before I actually transplant them outdoors. All right, so let's look at the profusion zinnias. Again, I talked about that there are these 2 zinnias that have gotten kind of leggy. So again, I'm just going to snip, right at the soil level. The other one, I'm just again going to snip right at the soil level, right? Now, the other issue I note is that in this one particular cell, I actually have 4 seedlings growing in here. Well, that's a bit much, right? So there's one that's kind of stunted all the way down here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one and snip that one off. But the others seem to be a bit crowded too. So I am going to go ahead and thin off one of those. So now what I have remaining are 2 seedlings in that particular cell. You can see some cells didn't germinate, which is why many gardeners always plant more than 1 seed in a cell. And lastly, let's look at my tall zinnias. And really the problem that I mentioned here is that certain cells have 3 seedlings growing. Now, while they look pretty healthy, that 3 seedlings is just probably too much at this point. So Again, I'm going to look for the weakest one, which is this little one in this particular tray. I'm going to thin that out. Here I have one that really didn't start to grow well, so we'll thin that one out. And that's about it. So that's how simple it is to thin your seedlings. So remember, you want to thin them so they don't have to compete for nutrients, for moisture, and for light. And then, if you're like me and you only want to trim out those ones that are a little bit weaker, then you simply go ahead and pot up the other seedlings. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time.